Oh my, dude, that was disgusting! I know. I've never seen anything like that. Just really crazy to watch. I mean, why do you have to do that to the poor guy? Nazem Kadri with the most disgusting empty netter I've ever seen. I don't think we're talking about the same thing. We're not? Click here. Alright, let's just see. Why are you showing me basketball? Ah! Hi! Leafs Nation, stand witness for Austin Lucas! Full biblical! Austin Matthews is the Leaf! Why do I watch hockey? Stressfully, mostly. Why would you show me that? Bending your leg like that should be illegal! With apologies to Gordon Hayward, get better soon, screw Skip Bayless, go to DeMar DeRozan. Leafs win 2-0 in a good old defensive standoff with the Washington Capitals. You know, as you'd expect. Watching the Leafs and the Capitals in a defensive duel is kind of like putting a bear and a gorilla in a cage and watching them play poker. It's not what you expected at all, but in a way, you're kind of more impressed. They even play with aces high. Who taught them how to do that? Did they figure that out themselves? I think this is the beginning of a movie! Let's talk about the game. First shift, less than 10 seconds in, William Nylander breakaway stop by Braden Holtby. There's the Leafs and Caps we know and love. Like when I looked at the schedule, I said, the Leafs are about to play the Caps. If I didn't know any better, I'd say all the valves in my heart just whimpered. The first round this past spring was non-stop wall-to-wall craziness. Even the game 6 that we don't talk about, that was only 2-1 in overtime was And we start that way in this game. I told you it's going to be an offensive battle 7-6. Here we go. Steve, why didn't you say 6-7? I think you know why. Watch your mouth. It's almost Christmas. Speaking of almost Christmas, holy smokes, the Matthews line. All game long, particularly in the first period, they were just dominating the Capitals horribly. Pass Hyman in front. He just missed. Hyman in front of Matthews. There's a chin. Each member of that line could have scored a goal in the first period. But also, every member of that line was like every player in this game missing the net every 10 seconds. When there's a theme to a game, there's a strange thing that happens. Something happens. In this case, players missing the net. And you notice it happen a bunch of times. And you think to yourself, I think that just happened a bunch of times. And then someone on the broadcast pipes up, that just happened a bunch of times, didn't it? And you go, see, I knew it. And then as it keeps happening, it's all you notice for the rest of the game. Luckily, it went both ways, though. Ovechkin coming real close on Andersen a few times. Speaking of which, Freddie Andersen hopefully turning the entire tide of his season in this one. Really, Steve? He needed to turn the tide? He's 5-1. Yeah, but it's a little bit of a Grant Fuhrer 5-1, which is still 5-1, but let's get down to like a Hasek or a Wah 5-1. How about that? For those of you who are too young to get that, first of all, I hate you. Second of all, Grant Fuhrer played in the 80s when he won a bunch of games 6-5. Wah and Hasek won a lot of games in the late 90s when goals were essentially illegal. Unless your toe was in the crease in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final. But that happened to Buffalo, who cares? It was a funny game for Freddie. Made a bunch of big saves, but was a little wacky. He looked a little bit like the early season Freddie we saw last year, making huge movements and often being out of position. Gave up a rebound. I think it was Burakovsky had a chance to just bury it, but he whiffed, or there was a stick in the way or something. Yes, Frederik Andersen had to make 30 saves en route to the shutout, and he deserves full credit for that, but as I've criticized the team for not having his back in prior games, I gotta commend them for having his back in this game. Nobody on the back end really stood out as a liability. Riley, I thought, had a pretty good game. He got back and broke up an odd man rush. Ron Hainsey threw 6 games? Guys, I was fully prepared to come into this season and hate that signing. It's only half a dozen games in, and he doesn't exactly have a wow factor, but I'm liking Ron Hainsey, man. Not flashy, not gonna put up a ton of points, but he just kind of lets Riley be Riley. He's usually in the right position, makes subtle little plays, and he helps out Freddie. Granted, those things are a little easier to notice when the Leafs aren't in the middle of an 8-5 barn burner. Leafs fans, Caps fans, something just seemed off in general in this game, didn't it? I mean, first it was everybody missing the net, but it also seemed like a ridiculous amount of players were falling down for almost no good reason. One of them was Austin Matthews, and then he crashed into the boards, and then you hear the scary words, Austin Matthews, slow to get up. Hello, police? It's Austin. No, never mind. Okay, he got up. He seems fine. He seems fine. I thought it was an emergency. What's a felony? Is that the backup goalie? Anyway, I don't think they have notoriously bad ice in Washington, do they? Cursed ice, possibly. That could be it. Third period, still no scoring, and the Leafs catch a break off another Capitals turnover. Connor Brown, all alone in front, gets a couple whacks at it, and he puts it through the wickets of Braden Holtby. 1-0 Leafs. A lot of people looked at Mitch Marner getting demoted to the 4th line as a punishment, and we'll get to that. I think it was sort of a punishment, but it was also a promotion of Connor Brown. A defensively responsible winger who kills penalties and has a scoring touch, scored 20 goals last season, and has experience playing with JVR and Bozak. If you want to shake things up, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mentioned this on the podcast, and I went back and checked just to make sure I was smart and right. February 19th against the Carolina Hurricanes last season, Brown was with Bozak and JVR. JVR assisted on both of Brown's 2 goals, and Bozak assisted on one of them. Leafs won that game 4-0. See, every time you put Brown with those guys, they get a shutout. Also worth mentioning, Connor Brown was a -3 the night before. So, Leafs get a goal, they get a lead early in the third period. Oh boy, when are the Caps going to tie it? And to my surprise, despite a couple decent chances by the Caps, it wasn't really that chaotic. This was a defensively sound game for the Leafs, one that they badly needed. Getting sticks in passing lanes, getting sticks in other sticks, clearing the zone well, just smart little simple plays. Ron Hainsey with just shoving his butt in people's face, or specifically shoving his hip into an opponent's hip. I believe they call that a hip check. And other than one or two blunders, I seem to remember either Austin Matthews or Jake Gardiner temporarily losing their mind and giving the puck away right at the hash marks. Except for that, the Leafs were sound. Freddie was sound. Panicky, but sound. Even when the Capitals got a power play. And then about a minute to go with Braden Holtby on the bench. Nazem Kadri, oh, what the what? Through the legs, tilt-a-whirl, oh, that's why they wear a cup. Nazem Kadri spun, he had more success than me, and he scored, and it was the prettiest empty netter goal I've ever seen. And put a bow on it, it's over, Johnny. Freddie Andersen gets his first shutout of the season, so do the Leafs, and they win by a score of 2-0, improving to 5-1. What? The Leafs get their 5th win of the season on October 17th in their 6th game. Last year, the Leafs' 5th win didn't come until November 5th in their 12th game of the season. It is a miracle the Leafs made the playoffs last year. I completely forgot this until I just looked it up. The Leafs had 2 wins in October. They won 1 of their first 6 games. They had 2 wins so far. When Connor McDavid and the Oilers visited, the Leafs won that game in overtime. They went on to beat the Sabres in the next game, 2-1. And then it was that carnival against the Canucks on November 5th for their 5th win. And that's when the Leafs righted the ship wrong. They lost their next game 7-0 to the Kings. And then they won, and then they lost, and then they won 2 straight, and then they lost 3 straight. Pitter-patter, explosion, dead. Let's focus a little bit on Mitch Marner. Now, I think this game was a good sign that Mitch Marner getting sent down to the 4th line was a little bit overblown and not a really big deal. First of all, when he was out there with the 4th line, he was flying. Second of all, when the Leafs were on the power play, hey, look at that, it's Mitch Marner. And at one point, I think he was even out there with Matthews and Nylander. He only played 12 minutes and 49 seconds in this game, which isn't that much, but it's not that little either. If we're going to make a big deal about that, consider this. Mitch Marner played 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the power play. So did JVR, who played 12 minutes and 27 seconds total. Less than Mitch Marner. Bozak, in case you were wondering, 13 minutes and 33 seconds total. Then again, Babcock just did a good job of managing his forwards in this game. It's the first half of a back-to-back. No forward played over 18 minutes in this game, except for Zach Hyman, who played over 20. I've been trying to explain something about Zach Hyman for a couple years now, and a lot of people don't seem to understand. Because you see him whiff on a couple gimmies in this game, and you go, oh, geez, wouldn't you just love to see someone else with Matthews and Nylander? Hyman's on the first line for a clear reason. 1, because he's good. I mean, look at the plays he generates as well. 2, he has a clear role. He goes in and he does the dirty things that you don't want Austin and Willie doing. And number 3, and maybe even the most important one, all the way down from the American Hockey League to Mike Babcock to above Mike's head, this team wants to encourage and promote hard work. You can still find this online, and I've told the story before, but about 2 years ago, I called up Sheldon Keefe of the Toronto Marlies, and I said, who is a player who has surprised you? And I got to talk to Kyle Dubas, and I said, who is a player who surprised you? They both said the same forward, Zach Hyman. Wasn't leading the Marlies in scoring, wasn't even close. He had modest numbers, he was okay. But in the video sessions, they love him. Gets called up to the NHL for that little end-of-year stint. Oh, Babcock loves him. Gets sent back down to the American Hockey League. Oh, stapled to Nylander. The second last year starts, he's stapled to Matthews. Even Nylander wasn't stapled to Matthews. Sometimes Brown was even on that line. Zach Hyman being there, apart from being a strategy that I think Mike Babcock genuinely likes, is a message. Work hard and you will be rewarded. Connor Brown doesn't deserve to be on the 4th line. I think the team knows that because he's good and he works hard and he was rewarded. William Nylander, yes, you're putting up points. Yes, you look good out there sometimes, but we need you to work harder. To the 4th line you go. And at the end of last year and so far this year, oh, Willie, great job. Here you go. Here's all your toys. Now, Steve, what are you going on this rant for? Are you trying to say that Mitch Marner doesn't work hard? You know what? On the new look Toronto Maple Leafs, I think everyone works hard, which means everyone has to work even harder. When asked about Marner's demotion, Babcock talked about, well, the tie goes to the veteran, how's that? Which was basically a shot across the bow at JVR and Bozak, it basically telling them they're the reason that Marner got demoted. At least that's how I read it. Marner goes out there, he gets some power play time, and he's the best damn 4th liner I've ever seen. It's not just Marner, it's JVR and Bozak who got to pick up their socks defensively. I said it on the new podcast today, and I'll say it again in this video. I don't know if Bozak's long for this team. Or maybe The Leafs are 5-1, and I should chill. How about this one? Curtis McElhinney, confirmed starter against the Detroit Red Wings. Figures, Freddie gets a shutout and then you take him out. But he's played every game so far this season. He needs a rest. It's backup Ainey's time. We'll have to see how this goes because heading into the season, the Leafs look like the way better team on paper. But Detroit is off to a decent start. They're finding ways to put the puck in the net. Leafs are on the second half of a back-to-back. Detroit's getting the backup treatment. Uh-oh. The Leafs have had a few interesting tests so far this season, and this is just another one. And for McElhinney, this isn't just a, all right, let's go out there and prove I can be a good backup and hopefully get the team some 2 points. It's a, oh, they just traded for another goalie and I better not screw up because I might lose my job kind of game. Steve, it's a little early for that. Oh yeah, Jonas Enroth would like a word. And I almost forgot my new little segment, If I Were You. I would chill, and whenever I want to watch a Capitals game, I'll just sit back and enjoy it, and what happens, happens. But Steve, I'm passionate. I want to see my teammate. No, you need to take it easy. I think you deserve it. I don't even need to bring up why you deserve it. You know why you deserve it. Look, even if they take a step backward, the Capitals are a really fun team to watch. Ovechkin's leading the league in goals. And yeah, it's a sink or swim league, and some of your rookies are, well, they're underwater right now. Hey, what are you gonna do? That's just the cap situation the team's in. Generally speaking, rookies get better, not worse. So take a look at your team. Take a look at the team in front of you. Look at all the good and all the bad. And just remember that the good is much more likely to stay good than the bad is to stay bad. Also, screw you and your feelings for winning Game 6. I hate you. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. We're going to get a look at Curtis McElhinney. And maybe Andreas Borkman gets back in the lineup. And maybe Eric Fehr gets in the lineup. And, well, Josh Levo, I just want to give a shout out to. Shout out, Josh.